This is Appalachian Ramblin. I'm Sam. This is Dillon. Pull up a chair, crack one open, and let's get into it.
Appalachia Ramblin' under the moon's bright light, where every trail leads us to the purest side.
What are we drinking today?
I've got Hop Fiend IPA from Boojum Brewing Company right here in Waynesville, North Carolina. And it says, hops, and hobs. Nothing else matters to a hop fiend. They gather them up, admire them, hoard them, love them, devour them, always thirsting for more. A West Coast IPA generously hopped with Mosaic, Simcoe, and Citra. Hop Fiend is the perfect blend of tropical fruit, citrus, and pine. See hops, want hops, drink hops.
Another pine.
Yeah, you gotta love craft beer can stories.
I really like the picture.
Yeah.
The rabbit has 3 eyes.
Why, I don't know, but it does.
It's cute. So I have Black Balsam Porter from Innovation Brewing. They have a brewery in Franklin and in Silva. And mine says, for those who choose to walk on the dark side, Black Balsam Porter is a beer for you. The magical combination of roasted malts creates a velvety smooth mouthfeel that contains full notes of bittersweet chocolate with a hint of coffee. Yes, please. That's cute. Ooh, yes. It literally tastes like a Hershey bar.
Hershey bar, huh?
Yeah. How's yours?
That's pretty good.
Switch. I want to try it. The essence of pine. No. What do you think of mine?
That's pretty good. Tastes like a porter.
Yeah, because it's porter.
That's pretty good. It's got that weird, I don't know, a lot of IPAs to me have an artificial banana flavor at the end for some reason.
Artificial banana?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay.
But that one's just got it a little bit. It's not too bad on it.
This one is dangerous. It's really smooth. So we wanted to start a new segment called Appalachia Happenings, where we share what we've been getting into lately. We just got back today from Union Mills, where we went glamping. It was a really cool little experience. We went through Airbnb and we found this dome on this 25-acre piece of property. There was 2 other domes on there too. They had pigs there and 11-day-old piglets, which were so cute. We got to feed them some apples, and I think we even fed them some leftover French toast one morning. Opie, you can't touch the mic. Anyways, they also had baby turkeys. Not quite babies, but
probably half grown.
And Dillon, he can do like a turkey call thing, and I have this video of him sitting on the ground, and these little turkeys are surrounding him, talking back and forth with him. It was really cute. We also played yard games. We didn't go explore anywhere. We just stayed on the property and we played yard games. We did board games. They had a hot tub. They didn't have a TV, so we did a movie night using a projector. It was just fun. Just a fun way for us to get away for a couple of days and reconnect and have some family time. What have you been into lately?
Just fishing mostly. Recent trip to the Tuck. Caught kind of the tail end of the fishing there for the summer. It's starting to get too hot for them if you catch and release, and it stresses them out when it gets too hot. So probably done with that for a while, at least in the bigger rivers. And then did some bass fishing this weekend at another undisclosed location.
Top secret.
Yeah, top secret. Pretty good largemouth bite going on. They're fairly shallow, at least early in the morning. Still chasing bluegill and that sort of thing.
You took the kayak too.
Yep, got the new Jackson Mayfly out again. Been enjoying that this summer.
Did you ever name it?
No, not yet.
We need to do that. Tell them what kind of bait you used for the bass fishing.
Yeah, so over the past couple of years, gotten more into using predominantly jigs for fishing, and I like big, heavy, bulky jigs. But have a hard time finding ones that are exactly the way I want them, so I started buying the components myself and make them into what I want them to be.
I think it's cool that you can do that.
Yeah, you can customize them, that sort of stuff.
And you do the same thing with flies.
Mm-hmm.
So do you predominantly use your flies or store-bought flies when you go fly fishing?
Most of the time I'm using mine, especially if I'm nymph fishing, because I have hundreds of them at this point from tying them in the off season. But
During seasonal depression.
yeah.
So that's what's been happening for us lately. So this episode of Appalachian Ramblin is a bonus episode. We won't typically post back to back like this. This is our 4th of July. Yay, America! The 250th B-Day of America. We wanted to do a special episode celebrating the holiday, and this is called our What America Has Gotten Out of Appalachia. So I'm going to ask Dillon a few questions. He's a history buff, so he has a lot of knowledge about these things. A couple things I had no clue about. So we haven't talked about your thoughts on all these questions prior to recording, so this is going to be really cool to hear your take on everything. So I'm excited.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, yeah. No pressure. So we are recording in our home, so you'll hear cats running around and hear our dog. So just know this is us. This is realistic. We're not polished here, are we?
No. Shit happens.
So
there's one now.
What America Has Gotten Out of Appalachia. So the first one focuses American wars. When you look at America's history, you'll see that predominantly Appalachian people have served in every American war at a higher rate than other areas of the country. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it is just it being due to the kind of rural nature of Appalachia. And with that, the military offers a lot of people a chance to get new experiences, future career opportunities, like pay for school and all that good stuff. So kind of a sense of adventure, and for people that want to see what else is out there in the world, gives them a way to do that if they may not be in the financial situation to go out and do that on their own. And for people that just maybe college isn't their thing, but they still want to go experience new stuff. And then I just think the strong sense of patriotism in general and serving your country. And a lot of families just have that as part of their history, and it's almost a tradition for
Like
them to do time in the military.
Generational serving. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Just something that popped in my head. Quite a few out of our very small graduating class of 2010 from Blue Ridge, several of the guys actually went into military service. Like 3? That might not sound like a lot, but there was only 16 of us.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still a strong thing for people this area to do. Super common. Like, yeah, it offers, I think a lot of it is it offers a way out. I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way, but it's just it's an opportunity.
It's a way to see the world and experience new things that you probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do so if it wasn't for joining the military, the service.
Yeah. I don't think it's ever what they expect it to be,
No.
but it still provides that opportunity.
We're thankful for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You thought about it for a time going into the military.
Yeah, it was definitely an option I had in the back of my mind, but
didn't play out.
no, it went different direction.
So that history of Appalachian people serving in the military goes all the way back to the beginning of America. Tell me about the Mountain Men and how did they change the whole war of the Battle of the Kings Mountain?
Yeah.
Battle of Kings
By
Mountain.
that, I guess you mean the Overmountain Men.
Overmountain Men, what did I say? Overmen?
Maybe you did. I don't know. I heard just Mountain Men. But,
so Overmountain Men.
Yeah. So simplest way to put it, the Overmountain Men were a group of people from Appalachia that were kind of specialized in more guerrilla warfare type tactics. So the ambushing from the trees and that sort of thing, which had been super effective then because it was still kind of general protocol in the military where you set up the battle lines, the two sides meet in a big open field, and so being ambushed from the trees would definitely be a shock to the enemy or whatever.
And then the theories of cryptids were born.
Yeah. But it's super effective because you've got people that spent their entire lives here. They had the woodsmanship skills to know how to get from point A to point B without being detected. The marksmanship skills to be able to engage in battle from a significant distance versus face-to-face on the battle lines.
Is that due to hunting?
Yeah, from their hunting experience. And like I said, just the woodsmanship skills. And it kind of became that group's job to protect the major passes in the mountains and keep the loyalist armies from gaining ground and traversing the Appalachian terrain. The Battle of Kings Mountain, which I believe is in the upstate of South Carolina, really right on the North Carolina-South Carolina border, just south of the town of Kings Mountain, North Carolina.
Okay.
I think it's pretty close to Gaffney, South Carolina.
None of these places sound familiar to me.
But yeah, major turning point battle, and I believe the loyalist general was Ferguson, might have been his last name.
How do you know all this?
Huh?
How do you know all this?
It happens.
I love it.
Yeah, and again, just that style of warfare and the I think it's really just tenacity. Because like I said, there was a sense of honor, I guess, in the battlefields, setting up the battle lines. But when it came to protecting their homes, they threw that out the window. I was
going to say honor goes out the window when it comes to it.
Time to fish or cut bait type situation, and did what they knew how to do, and they knew how to do it well, and held the loyalist lines off, and really became a thorn in the side of the loyalist armies, and just really upsetting how they know how to do things because they're having to adjust to this new warfare on the fly,
And how are you going to make those adjustments without having like the different experiences? So you're having to go through a battle and be like, okay, this is what we need to do next time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So not only in that specific battle and that specific war, but they really altered how wars were fought from there on with the guerrilla warfare tactics.
That's cool. So Overmountain Men.
Overmountain Men.
We talked about how Appalachian people have served America, but it's not just the people that has helped build America. It's also our land and resources. How did Appalachian timber basically build America's biggest cities?
Well, I mean, if you go back in Appalachian's history, had some of the biggest stores of old growth forests and just massive trees, especially when you consider things like the American chestnut that been wiped out by the blight, but was heavily logged then. If you look it up online, you can see pictures of trees that, uh, you know, 30 people couldn't touch hands and get their arms around.
I can't imagine that now. Like going out in our woods and such, you don't see that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people came in, and of course, not knowing proper forest management practices then, that, kind of a no-brainer now, but logged everything, and that provided the timber industry with most of their product. Probably, I mean, then it would rival the Northwest, I guess, in terms of timber production, because I don't know how much timber was coming out of the Northwest then. But yeah, and that's kind of a definitely a give and take situation. They got a lot from it, but what we got left with were trees that didn't have the genetics of those bigger trees, so provided a lot, and the mountains sacrificed a lot because we don't have those old growth forests anymore.
And it wasn't just our timber, but also the coal found here in the mountains. The coal was used in a lot of the coal used in American factories throughout the nation what came from Appalachia, right?
Yeah, pretty much. As far as I know, all the coal in the U.S. comes from this part of the country. Specifically, not really where we're at in Western North Carolina as much. I mean, I can't remember any coal mines here growing up, and I don't know if there were any here way back, but a lot of your coal mines existed more in like West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, Pennsylvania, that area. But yeah, a lot of those towns, like I said, provided a lot of it, and in a lot of cases at the expense of people that live there.
Yeah, that was my next question. How do you think it affects the families that lived here? We talked about this a couple episodes ago, how talking about the poverty found in Appalachia, and you mentioned that some of the coal mining towns is probably some of the poorer parts of Appalachia. You want to go more into detail of why?
Yeah, I mean, you see it with the coal mining, happened with the timber industry here. We've seen it in relatively recent history with a lot of the industry moving out of this area, like the paper mill and that sort of thing.
Oh, like in Canton.
Yeah. Because, the biz, what is with this?
There's gnats. I'm so sorry. I don't know where they've come from.
The business then moved in, saw an opportunity to make money, and with that promised a better life to the local people that live there. In a lot of ways, they got that. Many families were provided for, homes built, food provided with those things. The major issue with it was when something like that stays so long in an area and people rely on it so heavily, and then all of a sudden when it's gone, there goes all of the economy.
And not everyone could have followed or moved out of the town when it moved on or the companies left.
Yeah, some people didn't have the ability, and also, I mean, you just think about it, if your family's lived in a certain place for generations, I mean, it'd be super difficult to just
up and leave.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that speaks a lot for the tenacity of mountain people and the desire to be self-sufficient, even when times are tough, the desire to kind of hold tight and stick it out and do what you need to, kind of thing.
I like that. So we talked about how Appalachia has given America our people, our land and resources. You talked about how the land was it wasn't managed when they came in for the timber and for the coal, and a way that the government tried to fix that was creating the American Forestry Policy, which actually started in the Cradle of Forestry right here in Pisgah Forest. When the government created these national forests and parks as a way to conserve what was left, What were the positive and the negative outcomes for Appalachian families?
Yeah, I mean, the positive in general is just learning how to better manage our lands, protect it, develop methods for sustainable forestry where we can still take out those resources but protect the land that's there.
Exactly.
But I think the major downfall is not really from the, I don't know if it's from the establishment of the forestry side, but the establishment of the national park system and that sort of stuff. The development of TVA lakes, stuff like that.
What's that?
The Tennessee Valley Authority.
Okay.
So, like Fontana, for
Oh.
example,
Oh, okay.
was developed to provide power for, I think it was an aluminum smelting factory or something in Tennessee. I forget the name of it, but involved in wartime industry production, that type of thing. But Fontana, for example, there were several townships and communities there that were, they basically came in and told them they had to leave, and they paid them for their land, but it was nowhere near,
Really?
nowhere near what it's actually worth, and probably not enough to reestablish somewhere else.
That's horrible.
Yeah, and they were in that specific situation told them that they had to leave, gave them money, but told them they would put a road in on the, what is the north side of the lake, so they could still access like their family cemeteries and their family land, but then the road never got finished.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's why it's called the Road to Nowhere now.
So is there just random cemeteries that people aren't able to visit now?
Yeah, they're all over.
That's crazy.
And then you got places like the Smokies, Cataloochee, where families were basically told, we're taking this land to preserve it, but you have to leave. And again, they paid them, but it's not enough to, so it's super sad that those places were uprooted like that and families gave up, generational land.
They didn't have a choice.
Yeah, with no choice. But then you have the other side of it is that we now have those areas that are, try to be protected and maintained to keep from being developed and that sort of thing.
I never thought of it in that way. Like in your situation, specifically your family situation, how weird it would be to be told, okay, you have to leave. But the Caldwell House, Cataloochee, which is Dillon's family, is going to be preserved and people can come look at your house, but you can't live there. You have to leave. Like, how weird would that be?
Yeah, for sure.
For someone to come in and say, this is our land now, but it's okay. We're going to preserve your house and your cemetery and stuff, and you can come visit it.
Yeah.
What? But yes, I get the pros and the cons. The pros are it is beneficial, but of course we're saying that. But if someone was to come in here to our land and be like, you have to leave your house, that would be such a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Like I said, that's the other side of it, though, is if, who knows if it hadn't been protected, it could have just got turned into another development, another golf course or whatever,
I mean, they had to set up something to protect the natural resources here. If they hadn't, who knows, like you were saying, who knows where it would be. But at what cost? It's just such an icky situation.
Yeah. And I guess that speaks to kind of the sacrifices that Appalachia has made for the whole.
It's true. So we talked about the people and the land that literally built and powered America, but Appalachian culture has too. So like kind of a turning away from the negative and focusing more on the positive. Let's start with music. How did Appalachian music basically become the foundation for America's music today?
Yeah, I think the general way to look at it is bluegrass music morphing into modern country music and being influential in like probably modern blues and rock music and all of that. And it's crazy how intricate that is, because even a lot of the Appalachian instruments were heavily influenced by the African American culture that was here, and when slavery came in, and a lot of that music they brought morphed with the Scotch Irish um, folk music and the ballads and all of that,
So cool.
and influenced a lot of. I mean, we wouldn't have modern American music if it wasn't for those factors.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the banjo originally from Africa?
As far as I understand it, yeah, it was a. I don't know if it's from Africa specifically, but it it was developed by the African American culture that was here, and when slavery was still going on, those instruments came through all of that, and was a kind of an integral part into Appalachian culture in general.
So you play several different stringed instruments. Out of the instruments you do play, so the mandolin, banjo, and guitar, which out of those three was the most difficult to learn and why?
Oh wow. I mean, the banjo is the hardest for me personally. Um, I really couldn't tell you why. Just, I guess, because I learned guitar first, and from guitar to mandolin wasn't that difficult. Pretty similar, but the banjos, it's a different sound, it's a different style of music, and there's multiple different ways of playing it, and that made it more difficult, I think.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh wow. Um, Probably the mandolin, I guess.
And these instruments aren't cheap to get like a good quality one because we were looking at mandolins for you recently.
Yeah, because I sold the one I had when I moved from Texas. So I've been without one for
Since
what,
2018?
8 years or something? Yeah, they're quite the investment.
They are. But you sold it to help us get back.
Yeah.
But Dillon, I think you're very talented with the different instruments, but I think my favorite to hear you play is the guitar. But it's been a minute since I've heard you play the mandolin.
Yeah.
We might have to look into getting you another one.
Yeah.
Along with music, another piece of Appalachian culture that shaped American storytelling would be storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just through song, but through word of mouth, through the different stories that you hear from back in my day. How do you think the old mountain stories shaped American literature? And why do you think it's so important to continue the tradition of storytelling?
I think it shaped literature because it brought a lot of the, kind of goes back to the music, the ballads from Scotland, Ireland, Northern England, all that coming this way, and the way that we tell them. Because a lot of Appalachian culture and those that prided themselves as being storytellers, it was much more than just the content of the story itself. The stories had a rhythm, they had a sound to them that were much kind of related back to that music.
Okay.
And is how you told the story.
Okay.
A
rhythm and a sound.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain that. I'm lost.
Like, kind of like how poetry has a rhythm to it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I gotcha.
A good example would be David Joy in his books. His writing has it's not just a novel with stuff happening. It has a rhythm. It has a sound to it that emphasizes the story itself.
And he's a local author from Cassius or Jackson County, right?
He currently resides in the Jackson County-ish area.
Okay.
I won't give too much away. If you need to know more, just get his books and read it.
Oh, I like that. Shameless little plug.
Yeah. But yeah, that type of how you told the story. And I assume a lot of it just goes back to, you didn't have the entertainment stuff that we have today. There's obviously no TV, no internet. And so, like music, part of entertaining yourself was doing these stories. And it was also a way to pass on vital information from one generation to the next. And if you weave that information into an entertaining story, it's going to stick around a lot better than just
Makes sense.
telling it. Yeah, it's a very unique way of telling stories is brought in. Like I said, preserving, I think is super important because it's something we're losing drastically.
Yeah.
It's probably faster than a lot of other things we're losing in our culture.
I agree.
With the bringing in of social media and the internet, and it's caused this weird thing where it's not even the telling of the story part, it's nobody has time to listen anymore.
Oh my goodness, yeah. The short form, like that's what we crave is quick entertainment.
Yeah, everybody just wants the facts so they can one up your facts with
Yep.
whatever they're doing. Nobody has the time to sit on a front porch and listen to stories anymore.
I just got a visual of like sitting on the front porch with my grandparents and like, what is it called when you're breaking beans?
Yeah.
Talking about storytelling, I think there's people who are naturally good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And the one person that immediately comes to mind is my papa. And we were at Father's Day dinner last weekend at my parents' house. My papa was there. And there was this one point where it was just Dillon and I sitting at the table with Papa, and once you get him started, he'll tell you story after story, and him and Dillon connect quite a bit with hunting. Mm-hmm. Y'all have common ground there, and so Papa would tell a story, Dillon would tell him a story, and then Papa would tell him a story that built off of Dillon's story, and I snuck a video during this exchange because it was just so uniquely Appalachian. And like I was saying, I think some people are just born storytellers, and you'll see younger generations get annoyed with it, like, oh, Papa's going again, or whatever the case may be. I think it's so special, and that's why I filmed it. It's just a special thing to see and hear his stories and what he has to say. And I think we're talking about it on the way home. And a lot of people, some people like to fact check Papa. Like, are you sure it was X, Y, and Z? And I feel like a vital part of storytelling is it doesn't necessarily all have to be true or spot on fact by fact. It's the art of it, the art of embellishment and capturing someone's attention. The details aren't necessarily important. It was the message of what he was saying.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so uniquely Appalachian about storytelling is the desire to craft the right story. Like I can remember growing up, one of my favorite things about going to deer camp as a kid, which wasn't necessarily it was in South Carolina, upstate-ish, which is still technically Appalachia by a lot of maps. And a lot of the people there were from here. But anyway, one of the best things about it was sitting around the fire at night and everybody telling stories, whether it be about that weekend or a hunt from 15 years ago or whatever, and listen to those. And it was like a rite of passage to get to the point where you had your own stories to tell.
I love that.
But again, it was like everybody had a desire to be a storyteller and learn how to craft their own stories, and you develop this sense of voice and style for your own stories.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what deer camp is,
I assumed everybody did.
No. So deer camp is where a bunch of people go in and they but they pay a fee to stay and hunt a piece of property. Is that correct?
That's a good way to explain it, yeah.
And so you pay like a fee yearly or whatever the case may be, and you can stay on the property, campers, tents, whatever. Some people had houses, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on where you're at.
Where you're at or what piece of property it is. And you would go out and stay during deer season and hunt.
Yeah, but I mean, storytelling was part of that culture, and that's probably one of the few subcultures around where storytelling is super vital, is in the hunting, fishing, outdoor community.
That's interesting. But I feel like it's not as much as it was.
No, that's going away too. Like I said, with social media, again, people just want to know, how big was the deer you killed, so they can tell you how their deer was bigger. Nobody cares about the story anymore, which is super sad to me. But
I agree, and I think that's what we had talked about, starting a podcast for a while, and storytelling was one of the reasons why we wanted to. And we would love to get to the point where we're sharing your stories, our listeners, viewers' stories, so that in a sense we're keeping this tradition alive. We're adapting it to fit what's common now, and that's podcast style.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why podcasts are so popular now, is people are wanting that real experience, that down-to-earth experience, and the storytelling.
Yeah.
Another shameless plug, but one of my favorite podcasts I listen to now, Coon Hunting Confidentials.
You're actually a guest on that before.
Yeah, on there to tell a story. But my opinion, one of the best parts of their podcast is them just shooting the shit and talking about the hunting they've been doing. And again, just that storytelling aspect. And again, them being from a different part of the world in their corner of South Carolina, the way they tell stories is vastly different from the way stories are told in Waynesville, North Carolina. Yeah. And so every area kind of has its own voice, its own sound.
I like that.
And that, yeah.
That's cool.
Something worth protecting.
So it's not just the skill of storytelling that helped shape America, but many Appalachian people are also skilled craftsmen. So my question is, why do you think mountain craft traditions are so highly valued today? Why do people seek them out today?
There's a lot of facets to that. One is just marketing, I think. A lot of the areas in Appalachia that have moved away from the coal mining, the timber, the whatever industry was in that area have shifted predominantly to tourism.
Yeah.
And with that, you have to bring people in. So one of those is marketing those crafts. And then when people come in and see that, they see how unique it is. And when you see like real Appalachian crafts and things that people know how to do. But that craftsmanship, I think, goes beyond chainsaw carvings or whatever.
Yeah.
If you look at the houses that are built around here, whether it be the framing, the roofing, the rock work, plumbing, electrical work, a lot of people in Appalachia have a knack for working with their hands and doing those things. And it's not an attitude of just get it done to get paid. There's this attitude of they've made it, their name's on it, and they want their work to reflect it.
Yeah.
And that craftsmanship comes out in that. So like rock masons, if you see a rock mason's work and you know the people in the area, a lot of times you can see a rock foundation, rock wall, or whatever, and you know who made it just because of the way it looks.
That makes me think of Lewis.
Yeah.
And Casher is a guy that my family knows. He's rocked a couple places for my dad, but specifically the new house that he's working on now. You're right. There's a style to it that you just
Mhm.
recognize. Oh, that's his work.
Yeah, a lot of the craftsmen in this area, they have a signature to it.
Yeah.
So if you see a framing job, you know who framed that
Right.
house because of the way it's done.
Mm.
And again, I think a lot of it is that the pride that's in Appalachia to, if your name's on something, to do it right. It's
Yeah.
not just to turn a profit. It's because that's who you are and that's what you do.
When I think of craftsmen, one thing I think of that I see as like a dying art is the
Mm-hmm.
quilting. I know you can remember your great grandmother quilting and what that looks like. I never got to like see the process. I always saw the results of the process. Like my great grandmother, um, Connie Patrick, she quilted and painted was and Drew was just a very creative person. I think that you'll find a lot of Appalachian people are just super creative, whether it's through music or storytelling or even using their hands with crafting, building. It's so unique to this area and it's something we should be proud of.
Yeah. And I think that's what we were talking about, what makes it unique. And I think that's part of it is it's something you have to kind of look for
Yeah.
because a lot of the mountain crafts or whatever you want to call it came out of necessity.
Like the quilts.
Yeah. Very what's the word? Utilitarian.
Mm.
They're things designed for a purpose.
Yeah.
But people took pride in them. So there's these small little details in that made it theirs.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. And I think that in our area, they're doing a very good job of preserving it. Like I think it's called Appalachian Heritage Days. The Shelton House isn't too far from us, and they do stuff like that too, where they show the traditions behind it just to keep it alive. And it's not necessarily, I don't think people should look at it as necessarily a tourist attraction. You should take pride in this is what our ancestors did. This was their craft. And without them doing this, I mean, it was essential in some time. Like you were saying, it was
Yeah.
essential. So I think that's neat that they're Haywood County, Jackson County area, they're doing a good job in preserving that.
Yeah. And I think, again, why people like it is just that desire for something that's real, something that's authentic.
Authentic. I like that.
I think that's why there's a revitalization of the homesteading movement, growing your own food.
Yep.
And that's where even though, like, I mean, we have a garden here that's, if we had to live off of it,
We
we'd
would
starve
die.
to death. But,
we would live off of pumpkins.
yeah. But just doing something with your hands and doing something that's self-sufficient
Yeah.
in the world of AI and whatever, where so much is just thrown at you, being able to put your hands on something and provide for yourself, even if it's a, what's the word? Surface level thing.
Hobby.
Yeah, even if it's just at a hobby level, just that being able to get back to that.
I mean, that's what, like our garden, we call it the chaos garden.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a learning process and taking the time to learn it and being able to do it, I think it's important because who knows if we might need it one day.
Mm-hmm. I think that's funny. I think about my grandparents and asked them questions about how to do something. And it's like they were confused on why I wanted to know that.
Why?
Well, for them is like, I mean, obviously you want to provide a better future for the generations ahead of you. So if you ask questions about how things used to be done, like, why do you want to know? You don't have to do that now. You can do it the easy way.
Like canning beans. You can go and buy canned beans.
But again, it's that the desire of, I guess, our generation, especially in this area, of getting back to what's real and what matters, that sort of thing.
I like that. So we can't talk about mountain culture. We're already kind of starting it here without talking about the food of Appalachia. How do you think the mountain cooking style shaped Americans' culinary?
That's tough too. Because mountain cooking is very,
Unique.
it's unique to this area, but it shares a lot of similarities with cooking in other rural places. Because food back then, it wasn't some kind of artisan taste 30 different flavors in this bite kind of thing.
And played it so nicely and pretty.
Yeah, the meals were very, fat heavy, carb heavy, protein heavy, because you might get one solid meal in a day to get you through a day's work, and we're talking really hard physical labor, and so that food had to bring you through that. So your flavors were predominantly animal fat and salt, sugar if you're lucky, right? And then the necessity aspect of, there are a lot of places where you ate what you had
Or grew.
Yeah. So when times got tough, you might be eating weird stuff like possums and squirrels, which is weird to some people, but if you're from here, that's just, yeah.
But our daughter loves it.
Stuff you can get off the land.
Yeah.
And do that sort of thing. But I think a lot of that is what produced comfort food for us, and those heavier meals are something that it's comforting.
Like biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. And a lot of that kind of just influences culinary culture, because people want to take these things that are comforting to people and make them into something a little more extravagant.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of fusion in our area at local restaurants where people want to take stuff like, let's take biscuits and gravy, but take it to this level kind of thing. I really don't know what the drive is there other than the nostalgia of it. Again, it is comforting. It's good.
It's good food.
Yeah, it may not be the fanciest thing in the world, but you can't be unhappy eating it.
Oh, absolutely not. What are some things that we've eaten that people might think is odd or unusual?
I mean, I think a lot of it comes to the wild game aspect.
Yeah.
That tends to be weird to people.
Like?
I mean, you name it.
Well, what I'm thinking of specifically is like deer meat.
Yeah.
When we first started dating, we would go over to your house and y'all didn't have beef.
Mm.
You only had deer meat. So anytime your mom would make spaghetti or hamburgers, it was deer meat.
Yeah.
And when I first started eating it, I could tell a big difference. And I was like, oh my gosh. But as we dated more and I went over more, I started developing a taste where I preferred it over beef because it was less greasy. It had more flavor, in my opinion, depending on what you were making. But we went over for Father's Day recently to your parents' house, and your dad made us deer burgers. And what I found interesting is our daughter, she doesn't like beef as much, and she does not like hamburgers. She loved that deer burger, and she ate all of it, didn't she? So when we got married and you were deer hunting, and we would replace any of our beef meals, tacos, whatever, with deer meat. I think some people who aren't from this area would think that was weird, but to me, like, where that deer came from, and the food of, like, the taste of it, well, if you seasoned it right, you couldn't tell a difference in some of the dishes.
Yeah, I mean, growing up with it, like, people talk about gaminess in wild foods. I don't know what gaminess is. I don't understand that. Like, somebody eats deer and like, oh, that has a gamey flavor. I don't know what. To this day, I don't know.
Don't get it.
I don't know what gaminess means. Like, it just tastes like what it is. But yeah, a lot of that just goes back to a heritage of eating what's on the land.
Yeah, but we've also done squirrel, groundhog. You can make some pretty good groundhog tacos.
Yeah.
bear meat.
Mm-hmm.
The story that comes to mind with the bear meat is that time you got bear meat in Cashers, but it was a unique story.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bear that got hit by a car.
Roadkill, literally.
We'll spare the details that went into that, but yeah, I think that year we had a bear and 3 or 4 deer that were
Processed.
they were roadkill
Yeah.
because we were broke and it was available.
People offered it. But what was fun about the bear was we took it. We had a bunch of friends and Cashers, and we put on a Friendsgiving. And a lot of our friends worked at the Ingles and Cashers, and so they didn't get off till late. So once everyone got off, my friend and I, our bestie Autumn, we took the bear roast and we did a bear roast for Thanksgiving. And it was the first time for either of us to cook a bear, but it was so good. And everyone was like super surprised how good it was.
There were just 15 people in our basement apartment at like 1 a.m.
Yep, our basement apartment was our first apartment we had after we got married. 1 a.m. It was that late, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't do that now.
I mean, that's a good example though, of just like in this area in Appalachia, you do with what you have, and there's nothing weird about it.
No,
like people would get freaked out, I'm sure, about eating any animal that was hit by a vehicle.
Okay, but it wasn't like, let's clarify, it wasn't sitting overnight or whatever. Like it was,
no.
It was hit, and someone called. It was like, "Do y'all want this? We don't want it to go to waste."
Yeah, but to me, growing up here, there was nothing weird about that. And I'm like, free meat, like why not?
Heck yeah.
But that again goes back to this area and just that heritage of living off the land and doing with what you had,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that can be seen. I don't know if it's necessarily in the culinary movement, but there's a lot in the what's the word? What do you call it? Go look in the woods for mushrooms and shit. Foraging. There's a whole.
I didn't know where you were going.
There's a whole foraging community.
Yeah.
Where people go out and their level of passion for foraging for food would rival the most extravagant trophy hunters in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, finding a morel mushroom to those people is like
it's cold.
The best thing ever. But yeah, just going back to that. And it goes back to what we've been talking about this entire time, that desire to get back to what's real and knowing where what you have comes from.
Knowing where your food was grown and who is making it. Even the who is preparing your food is becoming more popular. The chefs behind it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the comfort food too. Like I know that everyone listening has like that one meal that your grandmother, grandfather, whatever cooks or cooked and immediately brings comfort to you. For me, it was my nanny, my dad's dad, who Ayla's actually named after, Ruth Jane. She would make me ham, baked beans, macaroni and cheese, and a roll. That was we call it the nanny meal still. When we do it for Thanksgiving, when that side of the family gets together, it's the nanny meal. And I feel like it's that comfort, it's that tradition. It goes all the way back. Mm-hmm. That heritage. That's cool. Who knew you could bond over food so much? Appalachia did. Okay. So, the whole picture. We've talked about food. We've talked about music. We've talked about land. We've talked about the people. Appalachia has given so much to make America what it is today. Mm-hmm. And looking back over everything that we've talked about, what we in Appalachia have given over the past 250 years, what do you want people to understand about Appalachia moving forward? The next 250 years. What do you hope people will remember from Appalachia?
I mean, a phrase that comes to mind is one, be willing to have a conversation with people, even if you disagree with them, and listen to understand, even if you don't listen to agree. And I think that's important for Appalachia because, like, there's all these nuances and opinions of the people that live here or whatever. There's a, even though it may be muted in a lot of cases, there's a deep, rich culture and history here. And a lot of those things go back to the basics of humanity. I mean, like I said, like the storytelling aspect, the community around food and all of that.
Even if it's roadkill.
Yeah. So, when you see people complain about Appalachian people on social media, or you see these mutated caricatures of Appalachian people in media, understand that there's a deep culture behind it, and it's not just a bunch of toothless hillbillies or whatever you have in your mind, but there's a deep, rich culture there, and it's something that needs to be protected.
Yeah.
And if you're from here, I think you need to keep in mind how important it is to protect it and to not be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Whether it be the storytelling, if you start telling a story to somebody and it looks like they want to get it away as quickly as possible, don't buy into it. Just keep telling your story.
Keep going.
Doesn't matter how slow you talk. Just tell your story and people will eventually settle into it. The Appalachian accent, if you have an accent that's from this area, don't be ashamed of it because it's part of our culture, the way we say words.
Or some of the words we say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Own it.
Yeah, own it. And be proud of it because it's a defining characteristic of our culture. I remember being told in high school by one of my teachers that...
Is this the one we saw?
Yeah, we don't have
we don't have to go to that.
We don't have to get in detail on it, but literally told by a teacher that if you don't learn to talk different, you'll never amount to anything.
Oh.
Yeah. So
we didn't like this teacher.
Yeah. But either way, just because you're from this area and you have characteristics that people think are backwards or whatever, you should take pride in it because it's part of who we are, and it's part of something bigger and part of something older in humanity itself than what a lot of people are willing to understand, I think.
And I think after our discussions today, it proves that America wouldn't be what America is today without Appalachia and this heritage.
That's another thing worth mentioning is when you think about Appalachia, think about the sacrifices made by the people here for the betterment of the country.
Yeah. So I wanted to read what I wrote down here in my notes. On the 4th of July, it's easy to focus on big national stories and wins, but the real heartbeat of this country's history is right here in these Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. So with it being our 4th of July episode, I wanted to read some funny stories I found of some ways that people celebrate 4th of July. And, you have your typical, like, run-of-the-mill 4th of July celebrations for us in this area would be county parades, fireworks in different locations, cookouts with family and friends, bluegrass music, concerts, that kind of thing, right?
Standard
stuff, right? So I wanted to try to find something that was funny or not necessarily your run-of-the-mill traditions. Some of this might sound familiar, but some of these are not. So here we go. These are all from Reddit. The first one, so here are some ways to celebrate the 4th of July. First one is from Grump Lord 69. Growing up, my parents had this tradition. We did this for years. So my brothers and I would gather up pots and pans. Then we would go into the backyard and bang on them with kitchen utensils for like 20 minutes, yelling and wooing. I thought everyone did this as kids after bringing it up. It turns out nobody did. This was just some poor people shit my parents came up with. Can you imagine being their neighbors and just every fourth, just randomly in the morning, hearing pots and pans being banged? Woo! And then on the flip side, this guy going around and telling, well, are we going to go grab pots and pans? It's the 4th, right? And people looking at him like he's crazy.
I think that goes with a lot of being in this area is growing up with stuff and then not understanding that not everybody did that.
What was it that you said y'all did?
Nothing super weird. A big thing for us was just like shooting guns. So
it's a very southern thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know if that's specifically Appalachia or just kind of redneck and jingle, but if you had, old guns in the closet that you haven't had out in a while, there's a chance to get them out and just shoot them, or check to make sure your scopes are on for deer season, that sort of thing, because people are allowed anyway, so you're not going to be disturbing anybody.
I feel like I missed out on so much not growing up in the States.
Yeah.
We didn't have the 4th of July. We're in Southeast Asia, but I mean, sometimes we would get together with friends and stuff, but it was very, very rare. So the next one I have is, I feel like needs a disclaimer. Do not try this at home. This person, ERGZAY, okay, lists some of the things that he's done in the past. And like I said, I don't recommend everything he mentions. We burn things, lots of things. Here's some things done in the past. Dangerous things with Roman candles. Using an old microwave to microwave fireworks. Created our own flash powder. What's flash powder?
So he's talking about like gunpowder. I have no idea.
That sounds dangerous. Created various other chemical reactions, including making black powder, an interesting water-sensitive reaction where I almost burnt my face off from it going off in front of me because of the humidity. Disassembled fireworks, then reassembled them in different ways for more fun. Lit gasoline on fire in the road. Among other things, we're older now, so most of this stuff is in the past. We do pull together over $1,000 in fireworks, though. Okay, so this is the last one. This one I felt like was a vibe, so I wanted to share it. Drunk on a tube and floating down a lazy river. Or drunk in a kiddie pool sitting in the middle of the quad, only occasionally getting up to grill. The beer is in an ice-filled kiddie pool next to mine. I just thought that was a whole vibe. So there's some things that you could do for celebrating your 4th of July this year, or things not to do in one case.
So basically, it's just an excuse to do all the redneck shit
Yeah.
without worrying about people thinking it's redneck shit.
So go barbecue, shoot off some fireworks, have a drink or two.
If you're lucky, somebody's got some homemade
Oh, no.
liquid libations. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Hope everyone has a good and safe 4th of July. We want to hear your stories, so please email them to us. We now have an email address, Appalachian Ramblin @gmail.com. Email us your stories about growing up in Appalachia, visiting Appalachia, so we can continue this storytelling tradition. And if this sounds like your kind of podcast, like, share, leave a review, tell somebody about us. We are now available on all major podcasts. And also follow us on social media at Stonewall828, and you can kind of see the behind the scenes and also a little bit about our day-to-day life here in Appalachia. But until next time, don't whistle in the woods at night and go touch some grass.
Appalachia Ramblin' under the moon's bright light, where every trail